We have a major break tonight to tell you about in the death of a North.
Who leaves someone in a lake during an accident?
One young man left for a graduation weekend party with his friends. By the end of the weekend, every one of them made it home, except Nolan Wells. Days later, search crews made a heartbreaking discovery. Nolan's body was found in a nearby lake, and authorities ruled his death an accidental drowning. But for Nolan's family, that explanation never answered the questions that haunted them. If the group arrived together, how did only Nolan vanish without anyone realizing he was gone? What exactly happened during those final hours? And why do some accounts of that night still conflict? Behind the laughter, the celebrations, and what should have been an unforgettable weekend, another story was unfolding, one that continues to leave people searching for answers. Before investigators reached their conclusion, one timeline raised questions that still haven't gone away.
Spending much of the weekend searching for Wells. It remains unclear what exactly happened to him. Authorities say they are still working to figure out what exactly went wrong here as his community now grieves. Stephanie?
This is so tragic. Our hearts are with his family.
Before we continue, if you're drawn to real criminal investigations, unresolved questions, and documentaries that carefully examine the known evidence, subscribe to Mind of the Killer. We share new true crime stories every week.
Messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on. We want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious, you know.
Nolan Wells was a young black college student standing at the edge of a year of hard work and the beginning of even bigger dreams. Those who knew Nolan describe him as friendly, outgoing, and someone who enjoyed being around people. He was looking forward to celebrating with friends, making memories, and enjoying a weekend that was meant to be filled with excitement. Back home, his family believed this was only the beginning for him. They say he had plans, goals, and a future he was eager to build. There was no sign that anything was wrong. Nothing about that weekend suggested it would become the last time they would ever hear his voice. When Nolan left for the graduation party, it seemed like an ordinary decision, a night out with friends to celebrate a major milestone. No one imagined that a simple celebration would soon turn into a case that continues to raise difficult questions. What started as a celebration would soon become the beginning of a mystery.
Authorities in Mississippi have located a body they believe likely belongs to a teen missing since the 4th of July. 18-year-old Nolan Wells was last seen on Horn Island Saturday. The barrier island is a popular vacation spot. The local sheriff's office says Wells was there with friends for the holiday when he was reported missing. ABC's Alex Perez is following this case for us. And Alex, great to see you. What's the latest with this?
Yeah, Stephanie, officials unfortunately say it appears we're dealing with a tragic ending in this case after beloved 18-year-old Nolan Wells disappeared July 4th after going on a boating trip with friends. Now, sadly, officials say a body matching the description of the 18-year-old was recovered about 8:45 this morning just off the shore of Horn Island, a popular holiday destination about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Now, the teen and friends reportedly took a boat trip to the Barrier Island for the 4th of July holiday. He was last seen on Saturday at about 3 p.m. After he vanished, his family and friends making an emotional plea for help, flooding social media with pictures of the outing showing Wells and a group of friends on a boat. The 18-year-old seen holding what appears to be a hard or alcohol seltzer in his hand. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department, the Cajun Navy, and many volunteers spending much of the weekend searching for Wells. It remains unclear what exactly happened to him. Authorities say they are still working to figure out what exactly went wrong here as his community now grieves. Stephanie?
This is so tragic. Our hearts are with his family.
As graduation weekend unfolded, Nolan traveled with a group of friends to attend a party that had drawn students from across the area. It was the kind of gathering that happens every year. Music, laughter, photos, and people celebrating the end of one chapter before beginning the next. Throughout the evening, multiple people recalled seeing Nolan enjoying himself. He appeared relaxed, talking with friends, and moving through the crowd like everyone else. Nothing, at least from the outside, suggested the night was about to take a tragic turn. But as the hours passed, the timeline became harder to piece together. Exactly when Nolan left the party, who he was with, and who saw him last would later become points of disagreement. Some accounts placed him in one location, while others recalled something different. Those differences may seem small on their own, but in a missing persons case, even a few uncertain minutes can change the entire story. Then morning arrived. Cars pulled away. Friends began making the trip home. One by one, everyone returned from the graduation weekend. Everyone except Nolan. When his family realized they hadn't heard from him, concern quickly turned into panic. Calls went unanswered. Text messages were never returned. The young man who had left to celebrate with friends had seemingly disappeared without a trace.
And we are not going to allow your son's life to be minimized or dismissed. Daniel was not just a case. He's a son, he's a student, he was loved, and his life mattered. At the Next Generation Action Network, our responsibility is clear. We exist to challenge injustice. We exist to stand in the gap when the system fails our people. We exist to ensure that families, and especially Black families, are not ignored and dismissed and denied justice. This is why we are here today. On April 13th, Daniel Irvin returned. Daniel Irving left home in a vehicle with 2 or 3 people in this car. Where someone asked him to go allegedly fishing. This family and this mother continued during that day to call Daniel. No answer. Continue to call Daniel. No answer. Text Daniel. Use emergency things that they had in place to be able to locate Daniel. All of those things failed. Another day goes by. This mother notifies police that this is out of the ordinary for her baby, and she literally gave the police certain options. And when I refer to which police agency that she reached out to, this was Rowlett Police Department. She asked them to ping his phone. She asked them to do whatever they could do to make sure that they could search for Daniel. We know that a couple of days later, that they eventually pinged Daniel's phone. And then the next day, they found Daniel inside of Lake Ray Hubbard. No answers. Nobody called. Daniel left a home with somebody, went out there at Lake Ray Hubbard with somebody, but nobody called this mother, his siblings. Nobody called anybody, nor called 911, nor went back to the house that they picked him up from. Nobody. They were met with silence, and they were asked to be patient. Now, we know that there were 2 people that Daniel was with. And those 2 people, one of those individuals came into Rowlett Police Department with his parents, trying to say that this was an accident, trying to display that this was an accident. Now, rather try to repeat his words, I am going to bring his aunt in just a second to give a little bit of behind the scenes of what this family has had to go through. But all we have to say is that if an accident, why didn't you call 911? And it is okay for this family to not accept that as a response or some reason of justification on as to why Daniel is not here. No parent should ever have to bury their child. Right here to the left of me is a picture of Daniel. It is always important to me to show the pictures of the lives of the people we lost, because we want you to look at this picture and know that this was an incredible human being that should still be here. I'm going to ask his aunt, Rokisha Blake. His mom is here, standing in the pink, and we're going to limit questions and interactions with her. But we want to, your strength and your presence here is resilient. And I want to thank her family for coming here and standing with her. I'm going to bring over Rokisha Blake. I'm going to ask her that she spell her the spelling of her name before she shares what she has to share.
As the search intensified, hope slowly gave way to heartbreak. After days of looking for Nolan, search teams made a devastating discovery. His body was found in a nearby lake, bringing the search to a tragic end. Investigators examined the scene and ultimately concluded that Nolan had accidentally drowned after leaving the party. From a law enforcement perspective, the case appeared to have reached its conclusion. But for Nolan's family, that explanation only marked the beginning of a different set of questions. They publicly challenged the ruling, saying too many pieces of the timeline remained unclear. They wanted to know how Nolan ended up at the lake, what happened after he was last seen, and whether every moment leading up to his death had been fully accounted for. As news of the case spread, supporters echoed those concerns. Online discussions and community members questioned whether every possible lead had been thoroughly explored, and whether all available information had been carefully examined before the final conclusion was reached. To this day, while authorities have maintained their findings, Nolan's family continues to seek answers they believe are still missing. And that's where the case took an unexpected turn, not because new evidence surfaced, but because of the questions many believe were never fully answered.
Today, the official ruling in Nolan Wells' case remains unchanged. Investigators determined that his death was the result of an accidental drowning, and no criminal charges have been filed in connection with what happened that night. But for Nolan's family, the case has never truly been over. They have continued to ask for more answers, maintaining that key parts of Nolan's final hours remain unclear. While they acknowledge the official findings, they believe there are still unanswered questions surrounding how the events unfolded before he was found. The case has also continued to generate discussion online. Many people following the story have called for greater transparency regarding the investigation, hoping that a clearer reconstruction of Nolan's final movements could help address the lingering uncertainty. Others accept the official conclusion, while recognizing why the unanswered questions continue to weigh heavily on those closest to him. Even now, the same questions continue to surface. What happened after Nolan became separated from the group? Has every moment of that night's timeline been fully accounted for?
S-T-E-V-E-N, and I'm the brother of Daniel. His legal name was Daniel, but as a family we knew him as Mike. And today, like I said, I'm not speaking as an investigator, not as an attorney, but just as a person that grew up beside him. The person that knew his habits, his strengths, and his dreams. He wasn't reckless. Careless, preparing for his future. Knowing Daniel, the way only family can, we don't believe that he just walked into the water voluntarily as the alibi. We don't believe that was voluntarily. Army to the army. He was trained with discipline. He carried himself. He believed in building a life of service. Our family has serious concerns about the circumstances surrounding his death. Now let me be clear. I'm not here to accuse anyone. We are only here from the police department. Right now, there are so many unanswered about what happened that day. Delayed reporting, inconsistent the individuals that were present that day. These are the questions that matter. And I just want it to be understood that under Texas law, investigators should recognize that death may involve a criminal negligence when someone fails to recognize substantial and unjustifiable risk to another person's life as unidentified under the Texas Penal Code 1905. Any failure to report something of this nature should be dealt with. Texas the concerns related to tampering or with fabricating with physical evidence, as they did under the Texas Penal Code 3709, when actions interfere with the integrity of an investigation. As I say once more, we are not declaring conclusions. We are asking for legal standards to be fully considered as investigations pursue facts. Our family's simple request, we just want a thorough, a transparent, and unbiased investigations for my brother. Daniel deserves that. And not only just for him, the community deserves the confidence to understand that every life is treated with equal seriousness and equal urgency. My brother is not just a headline. He is someone who called home. He's someone who showed up for everyone. He was somebody who was preparing to serve his country. A man with a life of purpose. So today, we are asking with information that you have, no matter how small it can be, no matter what the information that you have that you can come forward with, we ask as a family that you can come forward with any information. Say something to come forward, because silence does not protect the truth. The truth protects everyone, and we will continue to cooperatively. We will continue cooperating with law enforcement and remain hopeful that a complete investigation will provide answers for the public that we deserve. And until then, we will keep his name alive. We will keep seeking the truth in this name of Daniel Irvin. Thank you.
In the end, investigators reached an official conclusion about what happened to Nolan Wells. His death was ruled an accidental drowning, and the case remains classified that way. But for Nolan's family, the end of an investigation did not mean the end of their search for answers. Behind every case file is a person whose life mattered, a son, a friend, and a young man with dreams that extended far beyond that weekend. While authorities stand by their findings, those closest to Nolan continue to carry the questions that remain. The story of Nolan Wells is a reminder that even when an official explanation is given, the impact of unanswered questions can continue for years. Whether you agree with the official findings or believe more questions remain, one fact is undeniable. Nolan Wells left for a celebration with friends, but he was the only one who never came home. What do you think is the biggest unanswered question in this case? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments.